We are live. We are live. Happy Monday, everybody. It's President's Day today, so I don't know if any of you got to stay home from work, but I hope you're joining us today on this beautiful day. I'm going to introduce
Good
Kim,
afternoon, good
our,
evening, wherever you are. I know in Europe
yes,
it's evening.
yes, it's evening, and we have Kimmy. She's the Vice President of Cocoa Vita here, and she's going to be interviewing Mike Barber. He is the owner of Microlight Corporation and has the incredible laser that we all love and don't want to live without. And so Kim's going to be interviewing Mike here shortly. So drop your questions below, you guys, and Kimmy will get them answered for you. Kimmy, I'm
I
going to turn
will
it over to
do
you,
that.
sister.
Yes, let me turn my phone off. So good afternoon, good evening. If you are wherever you are in the world, might be good morning to you. Can you guys hear me okay? Yes? All right, awesome. Okay, so we are really excited today because we're restarting a series we've had a little while ago, and we're very excited about this because this device is one that actually changed my life. I have a story on that, and I'm very happy to share it. And so I have an ankle injury, 9 pins and a plate. And I don't know, at my 4 or 5 years ago, Mike had sent me to laser. I was actually just interested in learning more about it. And I treated my ankle, and in 20 minutes, that reversed a condition I had for 9 years. So I'm a huge believer in the 830 nanometer laser. And I say 830 nanometer for a reason, because all lasers are not created equal, right, Mike?
Correct.
So I'm going to tee you up, Mike. Mike Barber is the CEO of Microlight Corporation. He would not consider himself the inventor, but he is the inventor of the Microlight laser. He feels that technology has been around for thousands of years. However, when he explains it, he brought it to US through an innovative device called the 830 nanometer laser under Microlight Corporation. Now, this corporation has been around for 30 years. He's in 30,000 clinics right now. However, the average person can acquire one of these devices at home and use it safely at home. There's no contraindications, no need to have a malpractice insurance, because it doesn't cause damage to the skin. And it's probably one of the most wouldn't you say, Mike? See, I wouldn't say secret, but a lot of people don't know about this device. And why we show up today is I really want to get that. I want to change that. And so I'm going to bring Mike on because one of the things we get this question a lot is we have a condition called peripheral neuropathy. And I know the Microlight laser has been very effective in treating peripheral neuropathy. And a lot of the doctors that have this laser in their clinics, and actually technicians, because you can be certified in using the laser. You can actually do this on the side gig if you want to. You can acquire a laser and help people relieve from pain. And so we have a lot of those clinicians like Michael and Nancy are certified in laser, and they also have treated this condition with the laser as well, and have got some great results. So Mike, I'm going to kind of lean on you a little bit. First of all, since we're restarting the series, tell me a little bit about the science, and then I'm going to ask you next on why is this 830 number really important. So let's start on the science. Tell me a little bit about what made you move forward in bringing this, the first ever FDA cleared device in the United States and most likely the world, right? Because we're getting ready to get it into Europe. Okay, so Mike, what made you bring it here? Why did you bring this? This is your like innovative child. So tell me a little bit about this story.
Well, Kim, first of all, thank y'all, you and Sarah, for inviting me to join y'all this morning. My background is surgery, so I was deep into the world of surgical lasers for a good 6, 7, 8 years. And in that world, we were either cutting, coagulating, or vaporizing tissue to do it surgically. So I was pretty deep into the science of lasers. And I picked up on some science out of Japan. And actually, that the study that I was reading in 1990 from Dr. Oshiro is on my website, the exact study that I was reading. And what he reported was for about 10 to 15 years, he'd been studying different wavelengths and how the tissue interacted with the wavelength. And he happened on to a wavelength at 830 nanometers at 90 milliwatts of energy. And that became the gold standard for the Japanese medical industry, medical laser therapy industry. And that's what I brought to America and slugged it out with FDA for 6, 7 years.
Yeah, you really slugged it out and blazed a trail. Was that hard, Mike, blazing that trail?
You kidding me? You're blazing your trail, and I'd ask you, is it hard?
Yes.
At least you still have your hair. It gave me gray hair.
But I have to say, Mike, thank you. That's my contribution to your hard is thank you for going through the hard, because it was that process that actually was life changing for many, many people, and even today, and for the future, and who knows how long this device will be available for the public. Let's say 100 years, it doesn't matter. But I think I know you were on the forefront of innovation, light therapy, before it was even like a cool thing, right? This is like, now it's like, oh, light therapy, everybody has a laser and this one works for this. But we know now, let's go a little bit deeper on 830 nanometer, because this is a question we get all the time, because we're going to talk about peripheral neuropathy, but I want to address a little something here, because there is a lot of, Amazon has lasers and they're all over internet. If you Google, and they're all, they do this and they do a lot of empty promises. Let me back up a little bit on the FDA cleared. So what happened, Mike, when you went through all of those years of trying to get FDA cleared, and what did they do right before you got this, or the FDA clearance?
Well, what they did was they changed the game. So back in the early mid 90s, the only way this device was going to get to the marketplace was through a randomized double-blind study, which we did with General Motors, and it had to do with peripheral neuropathy, meaning carpal tunnel syndrome. So we did that study, presented it to FDA. We were about a month from clearance, and we did it under what is called a PMA, pre-market approval application. And in the FDA law at that time, whoever gets cleared under that, anybody else that would be the competitor has got to go through the same double-blind studies. So they changed it to what we call what's called a 510K clearance. And what that meant was that we became the predicate device, and all these other devices could use us as the predicate device. They couldn't use my power and wavelength because I had a patent on it. So what you have out there in the market today, they're either laser pointers or class 4 lasers that'll burn a hole through a wall in a heartbeat.
Wow. Well, thank you for doing that, Mike. And it's sad that they took that approach, because I think we do have a lot of inferior devices on the market being marketed as an effective, and unfortunately it's not, right? It's nothing more than like a laser pen you can get at TJ Maxx, or, yeah.
You want blue, green,
Yes. Home Depot, yeah. So now let's go a little bit before we go into peripheral neuropathy. Let's talk a little bit about the number, because I know the 830 nanometer is the magic number here on why your device is so effective. So let's talk about that number.
Well, Kim, in the world of medicine with lasers, every wavelength has a unique tissue interaction. Like, for instance, the wavelength that does the LASIK procedure that everybody's probably older than 40 has had, 50, whatever, that wavelength is 197 nanometers. It's not 198 and it's not 196. Welding detached retinas with laser, that wavelength is 512 nanometers. It's not 513, it's not 514. So every wavelength has a unique tissue interaction. The 830 wavelength that the Japanese discovered, its unique tissue interaction is that they were using infrared cameras to measure how deep this wavelength got into the tissue, and they measured it to be 2 to 3 inches subcutaneous. I mean, 2 to 3 inches below the skin. And then what they saw happening clinically, it was vasodilating the small microcapillaries, sucking the edema out of the soft tissue, putting the lymphatic system out the kidneys. Then the pain relief response was this wavelength has an analgesic effect on the C pain fibers. And I give all the credit to them, Dr. Oshiro. That report is the first report on my study on my website under studies. And that's what I patented. And then, as you know, the patent ran out, and I renewed the patent for another 18 years that includes CBD oil.
Yes, you did. You're amazing. So I know that let's talk a little about peripheral neuropathy. You see this condition often in what, diabetics, chemo. What do you see this condition a lot in?
What happens when you use the word peripheral neuropathy? You know, you're generally talking about the feet, but carpal tunnel syndrome is also included in that category.
Peripheral. I didn't know that.
So, you know, the medical way of approaching carpal tunnel syndrome is a carpal tunnel release, which the surgeon says, "Oh, Mrs. Jones, it'll only take you, 5 or 10 minutes, and we'll solve your problem." What we found in our study with General Motors, that surgically there's only a 25% success rate in cutting that transverse corporal ligament. With our device, we got a 78% success rate in reducing the pain in that area. So with carpal tunnel syndrome, we've got the gold standard. It was the double-blind study that we did with General Motors. And oftentimes what happens, it gets misdiagnosed, meaning that you have an entrapped nerve starting someplace at your neck, shoulder, elbow that is radiating pain into the hand. But they'll go ahead and sever the transverse corporal ligament. And what the doctor forgets to tell the patient is, "Mrs. Jones, now for the rest of your life, you're going to lose at least 50%, the strength in your hand." In addition to that, what we did, we made a surgical incision to dissect the transverse corporal ligament. And now scarring and adhesions are going to go back in there and try to repair it, which are going to entrap the median nerve and the flexor tendons and the synovium around the nerves, which means it just comes back in a more worse condition.
Wow. Yeah. So it really should be your last ditch effort, right? To go under the knife. I think a lot of doctors I've met, medical doctors I've met have, I think, which I like the doctors that we associate with, because they don't use knife or their script pad, like just do this, they try to get to the root of the problem. And I love this about you, Mike, because you're bringing a device that could help these physicians and or clinicians who are laser certified in potentially getting the relief without having to go into or under the surgical knife, because that's anesthesia. All of this has effects on the human body when you have to do those things, scar tissue. So I think I know all of the doctors that we associate would always use that as a last ditch effort. So when we're talking about peripheral neuropathy, what are you seeing from your clinicians with the results? Like, I know you have a great percentage there. But give us a little bit more on what you're seeing there from the use of the infrared laser.
So when you're talking about peripheral neuropathy, the other area is the feet, the legs.
Yeah.
So what happens, the sciatic nerve, which starts in L3, L4, travels through your glutes all the way down to your feet. And along the path, that nerve gets entrapped. And that's why we talk about trigger points. Number one, trigger points would release the entrapped nerve along that path. But let's say that for some reason, It's in the advanced stages. And so what the doctor is looking for is swelling and the sense of the, uh, the ability to feel something at the end of your feet.
Mm-hmm.
And that particular stage, obviously it's in an advanced condition. Clinically, what we do is that we put a paddle on the top and a paddle on the bottom and dial it up for 10 minutes, because the whole clinical objective is to create blood flow back into that area.
Interesting. And so I'm going to actually attach some of the references that Mike's discussing on here on the comment section on this live. I'm going to add some information, some pictures. You can see how to apply the paddles for this particular condition if you're going to be seeing someone that has it, to see if you can get some results. And so, Mike, is there a certain way that it's a standard protocol for this this condition?
Well, this is, I'm going to, now, first of all, let me give you a disclaimer. I am not a doctor. I am not a doctor. I have been involved in this particular device for 25 years and another 5 or 6 years in laser surgery. So I personally have treated many patients, but I'm not a doctor. But here's what you would look for. Here's what doctors are looking for in terms of the diagnosis. Number one, they're going to look for the swelling in the feet. Number two, they're going to look for any pain along the path of the sciatic nerve, starting at the glutes, going down through the hamstring, through the knee, down to the leg. Now, one particular doctor had a very unique technique of diagnosing peripheral neuropathy, and his name is Dr. Andy Burlow. And so what Dr. Burlow does, he takes the temperature at the head, which should be about 98.23 degrees, and then takes that same temperature gauge and puts it on the foot and sees the difference in the temperature, meaning the lack of blood.
That's amazing. I hope everybody heard that. That's
No,
really awesome.
I heard it in a presentation about a year ago, and it just blew me away. In fact, he had some doctors in the meeting, and he treated doctors, and they had peripheral neuropathy, because this was 98 degrees up here, and at the foot it was like in the 93, 92 degrees range. So you could just black and white differentiate, but between what it should be and what it isn't.
So let me break for a second, just make sure there's no questions. Sarah, is there any questions coming in from I just want to make sure I don't miss anybody if they're having questions right now.
I had one question coming in. Nancy was asking if doctors are required to tell the patients about the potential negatives of other lasers.
Wow, that's a very good question. That's a very good question. You know, generally speaking, the answer would be no, because most doctors, if they've got a class 4 laser in their hand, it's a blowtorch. I mean, that thing will burn a hole through the wall, and if they have not been certified by OSHA, we recommend the OSHA laser compliance certification. They don't have a clue that they've got an incredibly powerful device in their hands. Now, if they're using a class 3A laser, which is for a company called Erconia, that laser is the same power and wavelength of a laser pointer. So once again, probably because they haven't taken an OSHA laser certification course or laser safety officer course from OSHA, they don't have a clue what they're using.
Do you get that question answered, Sarah? Do you feel like that answered the question?
That's a little bit crazy. When you say blowtorch, it sounds a little scary to me, Mike.
Yeah, class 4s are dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to be under complete supervision, and the clinics would have to have malpractice
Right.
insurance.
I just
You know,
have to say, like having the kids at home, Mike, they're kids, they're adults now, 20, 18, and 17, but to be able to use the laser themselves and me not have to worry about that is priceless.
yep. Well, I get a call about once a week. Mr. Barber, how hard is it to use your laser? I said, Doc, my grandkids treat themselves when they come over on the weekends. I mean, that's how safe it is.
We think it should be in every home. I mean, it's every time I have anything going on that I feel discomfort, if it's a headache, sinus congestion, I'm grabbing the laser.
Well, here's a topic, and I'll send y'all we did a beautiful slide presentation. We're not in the laser business. We're in the pain management business. And the pain management market is a $635 billion market in America. And our device is a FDA approved, cleared device for pain management. So we're in the pain management business. And we have a unique special wavelength that has been proven through double blind studies. So, that's what I'm starting to talk about is the pain management business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Be a bad way of doing it. Look at the Netflix series on Purdue. That was their whole strategy, and it built up to a multi-billion-dollar industry. The only problem was that it was poisoning, killing people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
We
so, at any rate,
I sorry, go ahead, Mike.
we're in the pain management business.
Yeah, we talked to a guy from Norway, and he was talking about his son that had an injury. I think it was skiing or something like that. And the hospital just kept putting him on opioids, and then they kept increasing it and increasing it and increasing it until the son, who was a young guy at the time, said, I don't want this anymore. And then it took him 4 weeks to detox from that, straight, like it was excruciating that he said the whole family went through that. So I always say, this device is an incredible solution, or at least to try. You can always contact someone that is in the laser certification. They're certified in laser therapy. And soon we'll have an access portal for you to be able to find who those individuals are and see if there's someone in your local area that you can just make an appointment with, and then give it a try and see if it helps you, like it did me. And so we're not making any claims here. And Sarah, if you want to read that would be amazing if you're ready.
Yeah, sure.
If not,
Since you do have that,
okay.
you put it up.
I don't know. I didn't know if I didn't have it up on the screen because I want to take Mike off. But if you could just find that, and you have that.
Yeah, let me look for it. Hold on.
Okay. We're just gonna read a disclaimer, Mike, just because I just want to be on the, we're not making claims here. We're just really trying to educate. This platform and the Holistic Health Haven is an education platform. We want to give back to humanity. We also want to bring humanity back to nature. And so this is a natural light, right, Mike? This is like amazing.
God said, let there be light. He spoke into existence what we now know to be the electromagnetic system. And in that system, there are about 10,000 wavelengths that are laser wavelengths. And within that 10,000 wavelengths, there's this one wavelength at 830 nanometers that reduces pain and swelling. There's this one wavelength at 197 nanometers that vaporizes the cornea in a LASIK procedure. Another wavelength that is attracted to the water in the cell called a CO2 laser at 1200 nanometers. So every wavelength has a unique and specific tissue interaction.
Yes. And that's fascinating because you were talking about even the laser surgery for eye. It can't be one number more, right? You were talking about that was amazing.
Give all credit to the Germans. Germans discovered that particular wavelength.
This is a fascinating discovery. It's also natural, and it works. And for 9 years, nobody told me about this technology. And when I found out, I opened my big mouth because it changed my life. And so that's why we're showing up today. You know, I hope you learned something. I hope you may find that try this first if you're in a condition that you just can't find a solution, like I was. Whenever I would get up and walk, people would say, "Are you all right? Are you all right?" I'm like, 9 years. I just got used to saying, "This is going to be my life. I will limp whenever I get up. I got to limp." And then to find out, for ever since I treated myself, Mike, I've never done that again. Yes, take it away.
Well, talk for a minute or so. You were treating your trigger points, which is another way to apply this science.
Yes, good point. Now this is a really good, so if you're already a clinician or a physician, you may know, or for a physical therapist, you may know about trigger points. And so the therapy currently, the common therapy for trigger points right now is dry needling. Am I right, Mike?
Torture. I call it torture.
He calls it torture. So you stick a big needle and you release a trigger point through the skin, right? So a puncture of a needle through the skin can release a trigger point. This is very common practice. You have to be a doctor or a physical therapist, right, to do this, right? So, but this is where Mike's laser comes in into a possible other option where it's not invasive. You don't need a needle. You just apply it to the skin. Now it has to have direct connection with the skin, not over clothing. So remember that, not over clothing. And so the difference between dry needling, Mike, and the laser therapy, what would your synopsis be on that?
Well, torture versus a walk in the park.
And the penetration, because a lot of times I think my condition, Mike, wasn't just pain, and it was, I had edema, I had swelling, my ankle was swelled all the time. But then I also had some, when I applied the laser, it was some myofascia and some scarring that I felt. That does seem to improve as well, right? The laser. He's got, you got a great testimony on your knee as well, but on the scarring. So I think when I applied that, some of the conditions, Mike, would you agree? Some of the conditions that are causing chronic pain or discomfort, meaning like for me, it wasn't like severe pain, but it was just I couldn't really walk normal. And once that got in there, there might have been some myofascia, like Dr. Fielner talks about. The scar tissue causes more complications in that area, and the laser also helps with that. So that's why I feel like it as a multifaceted asset in your healing modalities. If you're going to be a clinician or physician, having one of these lasers in your clinic could be the fast track, right, Mike, to a solution.
Well, it's a wonderful alternative to shots, surgery, and medication as a first option.
Yeah. And, all of our doctors are the first do no harm. They stand by that code. And I love that because you're going to have some doctors like, well, what do you mean? If I can solve the problem on their first visit, I won't have 12 more visits to book with them. We don't have doctors like that. We have doctors in our group that we love and are associated with us that if they can find a solution on their first visit, that's the right thing to do. And I'm proud of them for that because money does motivate a lot of people. And when you're in the solutions for health, you don't want a doctor like that, right, Mike?
Nope.
So, Mike, we're going to wind it down here because we got 2 minutes left. As we're closing out, we're going to attach some peripheral neuropathy slides on the comment section. So if you got something from this, or maybe you're thinking, I'm going to find someone who can do it, just reach out to us. We'll see what we can do to get you connected with someone that can do that for you. We'll look in what area you're at. Um, and so we'll do some more series on this because we get a lot of questions on current some conditions and if it would help with this and if it help with that. So we're going to address those things. We're going to actually target certain different issues that are common, more commonly seen in a lot of our physicians' practices, and so helping them. Helping you sort it out and as a solution, a natural solution to this current problem like I had. So Mike, as we close out, what would you like to say as we close out, like as far as moving forward, the vision, getting people understanding the 830 nanometer technology, that is, I say, a diamond in as far as understanding total wellness. Like there's certain type of things that you're like, once I saw that, I'm like, this is, everybody needs to know about this, right, Mike? Everybody needs to know about this.
Well, Kim, as I mentioned, we're in the pain management business, and we have a unique tool, to help patients. And we've patented again. The patent ran out, so there's no other device like this in America. And we need to get the word out to folks that there is an alternative to medication, shots, and surgery.
And soon we'll be coming out with an adjunctive therapy, analgesic cream it was actually formulated by our doctors, with Microlight Corporation's laser. So you'll apply the cream. This will be only available for clinicians or anyone who's laser certified or medical professionals. And so we're excited about that because we're already getting phenomenal testimonies. And so that's on the forefront. So you'll hear that come out in the next month or so. Because the cream is out, it's in testing right now with being in some clinicians are using it, and we're getting just phenomenal results. So we're proud of that, and our doctors helped formulate that, and we're proud about that too. So quality matters to us. Mike, you are the light angel of the world. I don't know if I was to say it, but you really are.
Let there be light.
Yes. So tune in for our next webinar series. We're having Dr. Phillips actually is coming on Thursday at 1 to actually also talk about pain and inflammation. This is a current condition. So many people are suffering, and a lot of them, like me, had no solution, Mike. And so our series are really out here to help bring humanity back to nature with just knowledge. Knowledge is power. If you know more, if you know better, you do better. And so a lot of times I just never knew, and then a lot of people just don't know that this device exists. And so we're going to do our part, and Mike is gracious enough to show up and do his part. Now, bring us your questions, tune into the page, invite your friends to the page so we can get more people in front of knowledge, because knowledge is power, and in empowering you back to nature, and making better decisions and solutions for natural wellness and natural health. Sarah, you have that disclaimer ready?
I have it.
All right. She's going to read the disclaimer, and then we're going to close it out.
Yeah, the information provided today is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have read or received from this content. So I know you're a big believer in that, Mike. Today was awesome, you guys. We had a question that I missed about migraines.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, Dana, I didn't see that. But she said, can migraine show a positive shift in comfort? I'd like to actually do a call
That's a
specifically
really good question. Yeah,
on
we'll do a
migraine.
series on that.
Yeah,
Yes,
so many
absolutely.
people suffer from that, and we have a solution.
Mm-hmm. So, Mike, that's a good question. Would a migraine headache make a variation in temperature?
In temperature of the
Like if
what?
you're going to do that, if you temp here, is that what you're asking, Sarah? If I correctly?
Yeah, can migraine show a positive shift in comfort, meaning like when you use the laser, you do get tremendous results. I've only had a couple of migraines, and I feel so sorry for people that suffer daily. But
Well,
I know the laser is incredible with that.
as you know, Dr. Filner has a wonderful report. He was interviewed at the migraine headache convention a year ago, and he talks about treating the trigger points around the neck and shoulder, and then using a single dial to go into the zygomatic arch and deactivate the trigger point. So yeah, we have a lot of data about migraine headaches.
We will do a series on migraine headaches. We will let everybody know ahead of time, so that you can get people in front of that who are suffering. And many people have done it. And I don't want to say thankfully, but when I went through, I had a TMJ issue, and I actually, that's another one of your miracle stories, Mike, is that released that problem. So I lived for 4 months with migraine headaches because of a jaw realignment. And it was, so now I'm grateful for one thing about that is I understand now what it feels like to have a migraine headache. And even just hearing small sounds feels like something smashing in your head. And now I know it solved my problem. And I think we're going to do a series on that because this is something that is completely debilitating for many people. And it's a lot of mystery around it, Mike, on migraine headaches, a lot of mystery. But we do have a great solution. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
Well, Botox is the way that doctors are generally treating them today, which is very interesting use of Botox.
Yeah, and I've heard that too, and we're gonna give you an alternative thought on that. So we'll do a series on that. So tune into the page, get your friends in here. We just want to educate, so and bring humanity back to nature. We love to you all, and tune in, and we will get the next subject. When we'll listen to you guys too. Like if you have something you want us to address, some question you have, or a certain condition you see constantly in your practice, you kind of mystery, let us know and we'll do a series on it. We'll try to get experts on the line and get your questions answered. So thank you everybody for joining in. Thank you, Mike. It's an honor again to work with you and helping us collaborate a great cream that goes along with your patent. And thank you for trusting our company to be able to formulate that. We love you all, and see you all Thursday. Ciao, everybody.
Sure.
Bye, Mike.
Bye-bye.